Blue Sky Studios was going to be my very first break into the animation industry, as I had a pending offer to join the studio. This is heartbreaking, my sympathies to the whole team. Alright guys, how's it going? Now I need to apologise in advance, I generally don't make content like this. But the closure of Blue Sky Studios, it kinda did hit home. Now I have a couple of friends who actually work for the studio, some are ex-Rhythm and You guys. So right now they're pretty much battle stations, they're looking for new jobs, they're looking for new work, and you've got a guy here on Twitter. Didn't expect to make this on a random Tuesday night, but here's my reel. Anyone looking for an animator? I also know about 60 other people who are amazing animators looking for work too. Now I don't know this person, it's just a random tweet. I'll put his demo reel in the link down below if you want to check it out. If you can offer some work, that would be much appreciated. But this is just a typical example of how shit this industry is. Now a lot of people tiptoe around this area. To me, I'm a freelancer, it doesn't really bother me, and it's one of the reasons why A, I'll never work in a studio, maybe because I'm not good enough, and B, I kinda know how shit it is to work from a studio. The stories that I've heard over the years, they're quite harrowing, to be honest. A lot of people need to either move country, which is a big one, or they need to sell up and move house. Having a family regarding 3D animation or animation industry is pretty hard to do, to be honest. It sounds a bit sexist, and it kinda is, but it's a single man / wooing game. If you kinda have things that tie you down, they kinda slow you down, to be honest. Now, that's not saying you can't have a family and you can't work in animations. I'm just saying it's a little bit easier when you've got the ability to just pick up sticks and go. But the accusation of Blue Sky Studios regarding Disney, essentially what happened was Disney bought Fox over, as we all know, and part of the deal was Blue Sky Studios. Now this was a huge accusation, and it basically made Disney the Autodesk of animation. And they pretty much are, they pretty much own everything now, it's crazy. But I'm going to take a quick look at this article. Now this seems to be a copy and paste job, it must be a press release, because everything that I've read, all the different websites, they all follow the exact same narrative. After nearly 3 decades in business, Ice Age makers Blue Sky Studios becomes the latest casualty of the Disney Fox takeover. And that's exactly what it is. It's not that Blue Sky Studios is a casualty, it's that the people working in the studio are really the victims here. And victims is a word, because at the end of the day, it boils down to money. Now a lot of the articles that I've read about this story they all use the same narrative in terms of the pandemic might be the reason, not as the reason, could potentially be the reason, and fair enough, it probably has impacted a lot of people, especially studios. A lot of people are now working remotely, which might slow down development. But don't tell me Disney can't afford to take the hit in this. Of course they can. The continuing impact of Disney takeover of Fox and its film assets is being felt, yeah, definitely. Already, the studio has cut the output of Fox films, big time, and shut down the Fox 2000 label. Fox started working with Blue Sky on effects for films such as Alien Resurrection, Fight Club, brilliant film, in the late 90s, and bought the studio outright in 1999. And then they pretty much started to make Ice Age, and I believe Ice Age made something like 900 million. It was one of the largest grossing films of its time. Now obviously in today's market it's pennies, but it was pretty much one of the largest animation films ever. And it also received several awards, or it was nominated for an Oscar, I believe, or a Golden Globe, can't remember. But in fairness to Disney, it's the impact of COVIDs on the film's business that has reportedly led to the decision. And this is the same narrative that they keep saying over and over and over again, and maybe it is. Or maybe it's just easier to shut down the studio, grab the IP and remake it for yourself and make some profit. And I think this is where it's boiling down to. It's actually scary, in fact not even scary, it's sickening the amount of studios that close down after a production has been finished, especially in the games industry. It's volatile as fuck. I mean, the amount of artists that I know that lose their job as soon as the game's finished, it really is, it's heartbreaking to watch. Now to say this is all doom and gloom, hopefully some of these artists will be able to get their foot in the door in a different studio, or hopefully some of them might band together, they might get a redundancy pay or whatever, and they might actually open up a new studio. Now this has happened a few times. In fact, Blue Sky Studios was pretty much because the two artists became unemployed. They then started up Blue Sky Studios, and you actually find this a lot, that a studio will break up and they'll kind of divide into different groups. So hopefully these artists, I think it's 450 plus. Now when I talk about jobs, I'm not just talking about animators, artists. I mean, there's people there like cleaning ladies, there's people who run the cafeteria. It goes a lot deeper than just animators and artists. It's everybody involved in the company. So let's just read some quick tweets. It's a good way to get information. I worked at Blue Sky Studios for 4 years, worked on the new production, is it Nimona, in Story for 2 of those years. And that's right, they've pretty much scrapped this film that they've been making. Now, the reports that I've read is it's 10 months off of being finished, which is pretty much at the end of the production, basically throwing this film right out of the window. But it's always been a home to go back to. My N64 controllers are still there. And this is one thing people don't actually pick up on. You become a family when you work with a studio. You work with people every single day. You chill out with them. You have barbecues. Okay, obviously not during this year, but you get my meaning. It becomes a home from home. So something like this being shut down, it doesn't just impact one person. It impacts everybody, especially when you get kids, because kids talk to kids anyway. So basically Jen has left Blue Sky Studios, but I believe her husband still works with them, or did, so he's basically sorting out. And this goes back to Chris Wedge Bunny, and that was one of the first things that Blue Sky Animation made. So the resumes might end up at the top of a pile, or a separate pile, let's say, and that's probably true. People from Blue Sky Studios, they might get a little bit of preferential treatment, but they're fighting at the end of the day. And this is what makes me think that Disney are just going to rip the piss out of this. They're going to shut the studio, and they're going to keep the IP going, and they're going to try and make Ice Age go from 900 million. I think the last 4 or 5 films really did dip, but they're going to try and profit. And that's what this industry is about, profit. Nobody talks about it, but it's all about money. Do me a favour, guys, if you can help out the people at Blue Sky Studios, or any other studio that you know is shutting down, please do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter, support me on Gumroad, you know what to do. Take care.